Hey everyone, Dark Elf Guy here with a pretty exciting community news update regarding the Morrowind Modding Community. But before we get to all that, and there is, quite a bit of exciting stuff happening, I should first, just apologize for my prolonged radio absence, these past, really 8 weeks, I guess. I'm afraid I may have been a bit under the pandemic blues, as it were. Just the whole social isolation of it all was getting to be a bit much, even for me, and I'm a pretty antisocial fellow, truth be told. And of course, as an American, everything that's been, happening recently has been, to put it mildly, just rather distracting. It's a bit hard to focus on Morrowind when everything's on fire, though, in the case of the recent events, in the United States, that fire has been raging for really quite some time. It's just, it's impossible to ignore these days. So again, I must apologize for the prolonged delay between videos. But anyway, on to more just positive news, and there's really quite a bit of it when it comes to the community. And perhaps the most shocking and certainly exciting note to take away here is that we're on the verge. Actually, I think we have now surpassed 800 new Morrowind mods released in 2020 so far. And it's just, it's the start of July. Just to compare this to last year, you may recall I put out a video in August announcing that the community had surpassed at that time 650 mods in 2019. And obviously, we went on to release over 1,000 new mods that year. But look where we are now. It's July, just early July, and already we're past 800 new mod releases in 2020. That is utterly and unbelievably an insane amount of growth, year over year. Every single month of 2020 so far has broken a new record for most mod releases in that month. At least since we, began record keeping back in 2014. And that is really shocking. I mean, the lowest month so far for the community this year was February, with 71 new mod releases. 71! That was the low point so far in 2020. Compare that to February of last year, which was also the lowest month for 2019, when we had 46 new mods released. That is a pretty big difference, and it goes to show the amount of growth that the community has done continuously, really, over the past few years. And not only has every month broken a new record, but April, May, and June have all just seen over 100 new mod releases each. We have never seen such a prolific triple-digit release streak in the 6 years that we've been covering mod releases. That has just never happened before. And May was, of course, the biggest month of the year so far, with 301 new mod releases, which means between April 1st and today, there have been about 570 new mods released in the last just 3 months, and that is a massive number for an 18-year-old game like Morrowind. We have gone entire years, actually multiple years, since we started this YouTube channel, where we did not have that many mods get released. And that's 3 months, that's 20%, I mean 25% of an entire year. So in 25% of a year, we have released more mods than in entire past years. That is insane to me. That is just utterly insane. Again, just to compare these numbers a bit, before 2020, in the last 6 years, there have only been 3 months where mod releases surpassed 100 mods. December and May of 2019, and May of 2018. That's it. That is all the months that we have, surpassed 100 mods before 2020. So to have 3 months in a row with mod releases surpassing 100 mods is, it's historical, is what it is. Now, I do need to address some controversy, as we did have a few questionable incidents with regards to this year's, May Marathon modding competition, and, mod spam and all that. Namely, there were some cases of mod spam, i.e. very minor mods which changed only one tiny aspect of the game, released in bulk numbers, which might, at first, seem to inflate the total number of mod releases just quite a bit here. But we're actually not including those in our stats here as individual mods. Rather, we're counting about every 8 or so of those mods as one mod, to keep the mod release figures at least somewhat reasonable. Otherwise, we'd be just well over, 850, new mod releases at this point. But on the topic of the Modathon, I do, have some news there as well. This year's competition brought in 229 new mods by some 73 individual modders. That's a bit down from the 240 mods released for last year's Modathon, so we didn't break any new records there. But still, that's no small number and no small achievement for a community such as ours. And obviously, a lot of mods were, released outside of the Modathon. Since again, there were over 300 mods released in May. So all things just considered, this was just another really successful, competition. We're still in the process of sending out achievements and prizes, and of course, we do still need judges to help with rating mods. Any and all modders are welcome to partake in the judging process, as long as they can remain impartial, and obviously don't review their own mods. We'll also be calling on people to just help out with audio narrations, again, since we have about another 30 plus videos to produce for this year's Modathon. So if you're at all interested in doing, something like that, do let me know. Anyway, just real quick, I would just like to mention that the 2020 Summer Mod Jam, a 48-hour modding event, will be starting on July 11th through the 12th, and we'll be posting more details about that in about a week or so, do stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, just before we leave off here, I would just like to, remind everyone that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Some parts of the world currently seeing a massive spike in cases, and, for the protests and everything, I'd like to encourage you all to just stay safe. Protesting is of course important, and I realize quite a few Morrowind modders have already gone out to protest, or are currently protesting. And racial justice, equality, and an end to police brutality are things that are worth protesting for. But we're still in the middle of a pandemic, so please be responsible, wear a face mask, sanitize your hands often, and try to, social distance as much as you can. I look forward to the day that we can, return to just, going out in public without the risk of spreading a deadly disease like racism, or I guess, the coronavirus. But unfortunately, that is not the world that we currently live in, so, just be safe out there. And anyway, that's it for today's video, so, thanks for, tuning in, and I'll see you all next time.